Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Writer's Realm podcast, and thanks for joining us on the epic adventure we call writing. We're your hosts,
Holly Robilliard.
and Babadado in Austin, and any special guests are fishing or something. I don't know. And today we're going to answer Redditors' questions on writing. Um, Reddit is social media. It's not really social media though. It's a news aggregate, is what it is, where users just come together and they create subreddits. And there's a lot on writing, um, a lot of different writing subreddits. So Holly and I are going to get on here and look for some questions, and then we'll just try to answer them and try to be helpful as we can. I don't know if I'm selling this at all, Holly, or
I think you're doing a great job.
that's very nice.
You're
Thank
doing
you.
a great job.
I'm doing a great job today. Am I doing a great job? Redditor Bob Dotto asks. Yes. So, okay. So, well, let's get into it. What do you got, Holly?
Yeah.
What's your?
Well, I was going to say first, I think that for anyone who's not using Reddit, it's a great resource. So the way that it works is you can subscribe. I think subscribe's the right word for it. It
Mhm.
doesn't cost you anything, but you can subscribe or follow along with different threads. So some could be like critique groups, or they could be like people looking for beta readers, just general writing. There's all kinds of different groups on there. So you can it's nice for writers because depending on where you're at in your stage of writing, you can join these groups and then, hopefully get some advice if you can't find the answers on our podcast.
That's right. You gotta listen to our podcast first, and then feel free. Maybe they might have something, but
Yeah.
no.
So for example, this is a great question that I love. I'm just going to come out with this one right out of the gate. And this is on one of the writers' threads, and it says, "Do you create the story first, or do you build the world first?"
Wow. I personally built. I don't know. That's hard. I honestly built the characters first. Like I came up with. I was trying to figure out what I wanted. You tell me, Holly. How does this work in my head? I came up with like, okay, I want a theme, not a theme, but I wanted a female version of Sherlock Holmes. I came up with the names, and so I started like creating the characters a little bit more, a little bit more. Came up with Coyle as the um, detective, and then what she's been through, and then why she wants to be detective, and then I came up with the Watson part, which is Fang, a vampire assassin, and then why she's a vampire assassin, and why she wants to join Coil. So I kind of went that direction, and then I created a little bit more story, and then the world. Like, okay, I have this story. Where do I want to put them in? So that's kind of where I went with that. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, I think mine was kind of sort of similar, except for I swapped out the story with the characters. So I kind of had this idea for a story. Um, and as I was starting to brainstorm out the whole plot of this, that's when I started filling out the world, right? Because, if you build out the world first, maybe it works for some people, and I'm sure if Austin was here, he would say that's the best way to do it. Um, but for me, anyways, I feel like if you build the world, then you're going to have all this extra information that you're trying to force into your story. Whereas if you create your story first, and as you're writing, even you're like, oh, maybe it would be really cool if this person was a priestess. Well, now you need to have a religion system, right? And so you build that part of the world out, and okay, well, they're going to travel from here to here. And it would be really cool if they get stuck in a snowstorm or, something like that. So now you're like, okay, well, I need to make sure that this part of the world has this climate for them to have a snowstorm, or
Yeah,
it's a magical anomaly or whatever it may
right.
be.
Yeah,
Um,
that
so I
makes
feel like it's just
sense.
easier if you have the story first because then it kind of guides, it's more natural, a more natural way to build your world.
Yeah. So I kind of get where that question's coming from because I don't remember which subreddit it was. One of the writers subreddits where they would talk about what do you think about my world or what do you. So there's tons of world building, and I was just like confused, kind of like what you're talking about. Like, where's the story at? Like, okay, the magic, especially magic systems. They create
Yeah.
magic systems, and okay, that's cool, but like. I don't know if I'm going to read a book about magic system. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that can't be the focus of it, right?
Right.
Mistborn, I think, was really great with Brian, or not Brian. Brandon Sanderson, and he created a fantastic magic system. And but that wasn't the central part of it. That's just a tool, and I feel like world building should just be a set of tools for you to use.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
right? Yeah. Like in my story, I thought, well, shoot, this is going to be steampunk, so they're going to have to fight on a zeppelin. Like I want a big zombie fight on a zeppelin. There you go, boom. But there's things going on with the characters within that fight, or they're sharing info, or they're anyway. It's just a little bit more character development within that tool.
Yeah, and I feel like it's good that you mentioned the magic system because I feel like magic's, well, now I'm going to contradict myself from what I said, but for me anyways, I already had an idea of how I wanted my magic system to work. And so, granted, magic systems are part of world building, but I had the idea for my magic system and I used that when I was building out the story. And then from the story, I built out the world. So it's kind of like, I guess, full circle, right?
Yeah.
Because it was just easier for me once I had the idea of how I wanted things to work in my world, which is like, so magic can never, it's like a set amount of magic in this world. So magic goes to fuel the plants and the trees and the grass and all of that. And so if magic is taken from one place, it has to go to another. Or if magic goes somewhere, it has to be taken from somewhere. So it's always in balance, right? Um, and so that was important for me to have that idea in my head because it affected how my story progressed. And it's actually central to the plot. So there is that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know, for me, I guess it's full circle, but I can't imagine like trying to be like, oh yeah, well, in my world, there's this area. So I got to make sure that my characters go there for no reason whatsoever that's applicable to the plot,
Right.
just
Yeah.
because I've already built out the world. So
Right. And I think that kind of raises a good point with your world building in that you want it to serve you. So don't get stuck where you created your world and now it's all set in concrete or stone or however, whatever. And like you need to change your story to fit the world. Like don't do that. Like just change the world, or I don't know. Like keep your story as a story. Don't I mean, I get that there's within the story there's boundaries, okay? Like in my book, it's like fantasy steampunk. There's a little bit of magic. There's nobody running around with a magic wand. Um, but like I'm not gonna have just some dinosaur running around without explaining it because it doesn't take part. It doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't take part in the Jurassic period of our timetable. It takes place in
mhm.
1890. So I need to kind of I have some boundaries, but like I said, just don't think, oh, well, I have to change all my characters or story or plot just because it's not fitting the world that I created. It should be the other way around. That's just my 2 cents on that.
I
Um,
agree.
all right. I found one in I think a subreddit writing. Should I start reading my work? My work. I keep want to say work in picture. I have no idea why I want to say that. Should I start reading my work in progress before it's finished?
That was the next one on my list.
Oh, okay.
So I'm glad I'm
we
glad we're on
we
the same thread.
we grabbed it. Yeah. All right.
Excellent.
What do you think?
Um, 95% of the time, absolutely not. Don't
Yeah.
do it. Speaking from experience, from someone who did this and couldn't get out of the beginning of my work in progress for months on end because I kept going back and rereading it and wanting to fix things and wanting to change things. So I would say absolutely don't even think about the pages that you've written before the one that you're currently working on, except for unless you're going to do. So recently I decided I was going to ditch it in like a whole character from one of my novels. And so that required me to do an entire rewrite. And I shifted my plot entirely from the first like 20 chapters. And so I did go back to the beginning because I knew that if I started just changing the plot in the middle all of a sudden, that I was going to get so screwed up in the like trying to put in information and
Yeah.
miss things. And so in that case, I did go back, but I didn't necessarily reread it. I went through it and just skimmed through and took out the character and then just tweaked the writing so that it served my new plot. But I didn't fully read it from the beginning.
Okay.
Um,
When did you start reading it?
uh, two
Like,
weeks after 2 weeks after you're done is
okay. Okay.
two
Good.
weeks after you're done your work in progress and it's no
Right.
longer necessarily a first draft work in
Right.
progress. I think wait, um, because again, when you want to read through it, if you still remember what happens, you're going to be filling in gaps that are there, and
Yeah.
you're going to miss that they are gaps. So I definitely recommend waiting a couple weeks once you're finished,
Yeah.
unless, like I said, special circumstances, or you're just going to get stuck and you're never going to finish it.
Yeah, it's just going to be an endless loop. Um,
Yeah,
I, I
totally.
I got stuck in my first chapter forever, probably like
Same.
6 months. Yeah, because I never got to chapter two. I just kept changing chapter one, and it was dumb. But yeah, so once I got over that hurdle, I listened to some podcasts, not unlike ours, that said, "Hey, don't do that. Just finish chapter one, move to chapter two." And so I did that, and I got more excited the more I wrote because I wanted to see where all this was going. Because I'm a discovery writer, I want to see what happens. I had no idea what was going to happen to the characters and how the story was going to end up, and I wanted to get to that point at the end where it did happen. And like Holly said, you put it away. I did not put it away for 2 weeks. I tried, but I was way too excited. I probably not 2 hours, but I'd probably say 2 or 3 days, honestly. Not a good idea because it's still very fresh in your mind. And there's all these, like what Holly's talking about, you kind of, as you're writing, you're kind of like, oh, there's like, I need to make a mental note because now I'm kind of changing something. There's going to be a plot hole now. And so that was just all like tumble dry in my head, just tumbling, tumbling, tumbling. So I had to go
Yeah.
back after I couldn't wait 2 weeks. I just went back in. But yes, should I start reading my working project? No, don't do that. Finish it first and then go back. Like you said, Holly, just set it aside, work on something else, go do the dishes or something for 2 weeks, and then come back
Yeah.
and pick it up and read it.
I definitely think, though, it's a common question, especially with new writers. And this kind of goes hand in hand. I did see another Reddit thread another day, a couple weeks ago, and someone was asking um, for just like a review of like their opening chapter or something like that. And they said, this is my first draft, and then I plan on having it edited and then sending it out to query. And it was like, hold on a second. So this is that common misconception, right? That like you just write the first draft and then off it goes to an editor and then it's ready to go, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so in a perfect world, that would be great, but
Yeah.
I don't think
If you're
anyone
James
else.
Patterson or Stephen King,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's where that like mentality comes from is my first draft has to be perfect because it's my only draft and it should not be.
No. And
So
it
I think
won't
that's just
be.
maybe where it comes from. Yeah.
There's no way it would be. You're human. Of course there's going to be stuff that's all jacked up. So
Yep.
that's a good point.
All right. So then the next question is, this is a fun one. Is it strange that I feel like I need a pen and paper to write?
How fun. That's personal preference, I think, right? Some people do
Yeah.
that. I know it's kind of called longhand. And I know Stephen King writes like that. He has a crap ton. I think James Patterson, even though we know he has ghostwriters, but I think he's another one that does longhand. I can't do that because I'm pretty sure my hand will cramp up and fall off.
Yeah.
And I cannot read my writing whatsoever. Like especially if I'm all caffeinated, super caffeinated, and trying to
Mhm.
write, and I'm just scribbling along. There's no freaking way I'm gonna. I can't do that. That's a personal preference thing for me. How about you?
Yeah. I do most of my writing with a keyboard. I like to write first thing in the morning when I first get up and then a little bit after work. So usually when I'm up first thing in the morning, like the thought of just like even like being able to have like the muscle memory to hold a pen is like,
Mm,
or anything other than my coffee mug is
yeah,
torture.
yeah.
With that being said, I do have a notepad that I keep with me.
Hmm.
So if I'm, out somewhere or if I'm driving, not personally driving, but if I'm a passenger.
No, you can just
I like
yeah,
driving,
while
taking
you're
some
brushing your
notes.
teeth, while
Yeah.
you're writing.
So every once in a while, because I like to just have the option of like writing things down or for me, like when I'm writing my scenes, a lot of the time, um, it's hard for me to explain where the characters are. And like I'm a very visual person, and so
Mm,
I like to have like everything mapped out. So I think I sent you guys the photo not too long ago. I
that's
was
right.
trying to map out a fight scene, and I'm like, okay, there's four people in the fight scene,
Right.
and this person did this. So now this is where the four characters are. Okay, but now this happened. So now this is where they are.
Right.
And that's the only way I can keep track of them. And so that's why for me, but I mean I mean I guess it is writing with a pen and paper, but
Uh-huh.
I can't imagine doing the whole thing. I
Yeah.
just
Writing an entire book. I say, but hey, if that's how your brain works, then do it. Like that's there's nothing. Don't let anybody tell you no. I mean, that's
yeah.
but it's definitely not everybody. Like she said, I use a keyboard. I do not write first thing in the morning. My brain needs about 12 hours to get working. So I will start around I like 1 o'clock to 4 or 5. I think that's when my brain is really um, all the hamsters are awake in my
Well,
head.
so I
So
actually, I heard I started doing, I mean, I've always been a morning person. It comes from years of competitive horseback riding and being in the barn at 4 a.m. But
oh wow.
yeah, early mornings.
Oh my
But
God.
for me, I read something that said that, and I don't know if this is true, I have not fact checked this at all, but studies show that the critical part of your brain is not quite activated when you first wake up. So that allows you to be more creative because you're not like that part of your
Oh,
brain isn't
okay.
stopping you being like, oh no, that that wouldn't make sense. So you're
Right.
basically you're not overthinking
Okay.
because your brain's not awake enough to actually overthink.
I like
So
that. That's very interesting. I had no idea. All I know is my brain doesn't work that early. So whatever you're talking about, the critical part is asleep and the creative part is asleep. So I am good for nothing. That's a very interesting thing. Yeah, that'd be kind of a interesting topic to go through. The science of writing.
yeah. Well, I'm curious too, like thinking about it, it probably depends a lot on your routine as well, right? Because if you are in a certain routine, then you know, your brain gets used to doing certain activities at certain times. And so I feel like if you were to try and suddenly write at a different time, if you're used to being a night owl and you're used to writing at midnight, writing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon might just be like completely jarring for you and you might get nothing done. But
Yeah,
you never know.
yeah. Never know. Try it, but you know what? Hey, that's. I mean, I have written ideas, book ideas on with pen and paper. But so try it. If you've never done that, might as well give it a go and see if it works. And maybe you'll love it, you know? So yeah. Um, I have a question. Let me see. Somebody says I hit 30,000 on my first draft, 30,000 words on my first draft, aiming for 35 to 45,000. That's small, isn't it? 30,000 for, I don't know if they're done, aiming for 35 to 45,000 words. That
I
sounds
guess it
like
would depend on, yeah, what they're writing and what the genre
it's
is.
a young adult mystery. That sounds like I don't know, a short story definitely is
Yeah, it sounds
35 to
low to
45.
me.
It's a little on the low, which is fine. I mean, if you're writing a short story, then go for it. But anyway, okay. Um, what's your word count goal on your current project?
Ooh, I haven't really thought about it.
Do we just write, or is there
Well,
one? How about that? Or is there one?
I'm gonna say yes. For me, I'm gonna say that my word count goal by the time the entire project is done, edited, and ready to go out for querying, I'm probably gonna want to be in like the 85 to 89,000 word range,
Okay.
which is pretty close to what other in my genre are.
Hmm.
With that being said, and I think we've touched on this before, and Austin disagreed with me on this, but
Yeah.
for me, I always feel like, and the way that I was taught was that your first draft should be way over your word count. And
Mm.
when you do your second draft, the goal should be reduce your word count by 10%, at least for your second draft. Because you're kind of refining and you're cutting out a lot of the garbage and
Right.
cutting out all the exposition and things like that. However, if you are a pantser, um, then that might not be the case. And that was Austin's argument. So I'm speaking for him today, guys.
Okay.
Austin's argument was that he just kind of likes to get it on paper. And so he goes in the second time and fills in, those extra details that he maybe missed the first time around.
Mm. Okay.
Um, so I
Hmm.
think. I think having, for me, yes, 85,000 to 89,000 for my genre, but
Okay.
that's definitely not after my first draft.
Yeah. Um, what's your genre?
So I write, I guess it's romantasy is the
Okay.
subgenre, but fantasy
Okay.
and adult fantasy or
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because sometimes that has they're kind of these are guidelines too, guys. These aren't like hard fast rules. They're just kind of guidelines. Yeah, like high fantasy would probably be 150 or 125 or something like that. Because there's a lot of world building and a lot of characters. So yeah, I'm right now at steampunkish, and I'm kind of in the same like 70 to 80,000. I don't think I had one. I know I don't want to go past 90. Here's a quick question, Holly. Do you find it easier or easy to get over that? Or is it a struggle to meet that goal, that word count goal?
um I think yes. And when I first started writing, I really struggled to meet that because I was like, oh, well, I need all this information. I have to have 100,000 words. Every little bit of information in here is important. All of the words are important. And what it really came down to for me was as my skill increased and as I practiced more, I started realizing I was using a lot of filler words. Um, so that cut down my word count drastically. And then
Yeah,
the same thing when it came to, over explaining how characters were feeling, which are all like, beginner writer, I don't want to say mistakes, but, little things that we do that we just don't know not to do.
yeah,
And so it was really tough in the beginning to pare down to that. But once I started understanding that, I don't have to tell the reader how this character is feeling because I can just show them through the character's actions, it really cut down on my word count. And so now it's a lot easier. But
mm,
again, I don't go from like 100 or 120,000 words down to 85
yeah,
after between first and second draft. It takes me three drafts and within that probably two beta reads and an editor to get down to the number is
nice.
kind of what my pattern is. But everyone's different, so
Yeah.
I think it just really depends on your process. How about you?
Yeah, well, because I remember my second book, it was again like 75 to 80, and I was over 90, and I was like, my gosh, I can easily keep going to like 100. I have a lot more story here, but I didn't, you know. I kind of kept it within my own guidelines. But that kind of made me happy because whenever I would hear about like I said, high fantasy is like over 100,000 or some other genres or big. Oh, lit RPG or very high number word counts. Um, and I was like, God, how can people write that much? But like I said, I hit over 90. I was like, oh my gosh, this was cake. I mean, I wouldn't say cake, but like it was easier than I thought, and I could easily go over, but I didn't. I kept it. So
I
yeah,
think I think some of the I think it's getting harder now too, especially for new authors because a lot of the more established authors, at least in the fantasy genre, have started coming out with very large novels. And so usually you see that at the end, the last couple books, that's pretty common. But a good example would be Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Every single book in the series, like right from the beginning, with these huge, like monstrosity sucker
uh,
sizes.
mhm.
And so people think, oh, well, if she can write a book that's that many words and that big, then I can. But the difference is this, you're talking about an established author who has, I think 12 or 14 very well-known published novels. So their editor's not going to balk on it because they know it's going to sell versus, a newer writer, a newer author. You know, I see all the time on Reddit threads, people are like, oh, my word count is 130,000 for fantasy, and I'm not getting any responses to my query letters. And it's like, well,
Huh.
yeah, no kidding,
Yeah.
because you're telling them that you can't edit down that work enough, right? And
Right.
it's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of work for them to get it to where it's
Yes.
sellable.
Yeah.
Or you just have two stories in one, and that's a great problem to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Well, I have person to person talk to people that's over 200,000. And they're like,
Oof.
yeah, and I'm trying to, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to like. They're not looking for advice. I'm like, well, good luck, you know.
Yeah.
But there's no one is going to go just brand new writer. Like, how much is that going to cost to print? Goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
exactly.
Unless it's like you said, unless they're the new Sandra Mouse or whoever. Um, but even then, like you said, okay, we're going to break this up into like 3 books or something because like
Yeah.
this is just it's just cost prohibitive. That's all it is. It's just it's a business. So all right, what else you got?
All right. How do I make the reader think a character died, although they survive?
I love it because these are all questions like we would think of because we've all done this, right? Like we've all like,
Yeah.
so how'd you make them think they died, but they're really alive?
Yeah. I think
Hmm.
this is a great one.
Yeah,
Um, I think that unreliable narrator is your best friend in this situation. A
yeah,
great way to pull this off is if someone's like has like a tragic accident, like their ship goes down, or they fall off of a cliff, or
right,
things like that, or suddenly they disappear, or they fall off their dragon, and
right,
like the opportunities are endless because you can end the chapter on something like that, and then you can just not mention the character for a little while, and then when they reappear, it's this miraculous, like, oh well, I fell off the cliff,
mhm,
but hit a tree branch and then a
right,
dragon caught me on the way down, or you know what
right,
I mean? Like there's
right. Uh-huh.
um I think the easiest way without overthinking it is to, yeah, just stage it in a way that it happens at the end, and then you can even have one if another character witnesses it, say,
Hmm.
it would be almost impossible for them to survive a fall like
Right.
that. But the key word is almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
So it's likely and it's implied that they probably died. So when someone
Right.
says, "Oh, like we got to find a way to get down there," and the other character says, "It would be next to impossible for them to survive a fall like that. We need to go. We have to pursue
Right.
our journey or continue on." Or
Yeah.
um, so it stages it and it kind of makes you believe that they are dead, but
Yeah.
then they appear and it's like, oh shit. And then they got this amazing story of, how it came to be. And there you
Yeah.
go.
Right.
There's a spinoff.
Yeah. I would definitely say, and they weren't necessarily dead in the story, but Gone Girl was pretty good with like all of the evidence that I mean, spoiler alerts if you haven't read that, but so don't listen right now. But yeah, the narrator like left a lot of clues, like oh, she's left her husband because of this and that and the other, and and all this stuff. So there's like evidence that you want to leave. I mean, it's almost like a murder. Agatha Christie's done that a few times where, um, yeah, there's a dead body, but then like, well, there's evidence of a dead body. Okay, I already lost my train of thought twice during this conversation. Like, but anyway, I'm trying to get back on track. But like, my point is just to leave enough evidence for the reader and your characters to believe, like, oh, they're gone or they're dead. I was going to say Agatha Christie's, and then there were none. Big spoiler alert for somebody, but one of the characters had like what appeared to be a gunshot wound, but it really wasn't a gunshot wound. And so like you read it and you're like, oh well, they're gone. So I mean I believed it, in the characters in the story believed it. So that would be my 2 cents on that. Is where you just leave enough evidence to so that there's no other way. They fall off the boat and then in a storm is another one where
Yeah.
what was that movie called? Sleeping with the Enemy. That was it. This husband wife husband is a monster. She falls off a boat in a storm and like I mean you would think, well, I don't see her anywhere, she's gone, and she doesn't know how to swim, and like, well, she's dead, right? I mean, she's dead. So that's that. However, what we didn't know was that she was taking swimming lessons because she wanted that to happen. So she jumped in the water, held her breath, and just swam, I don't know, however, you know, many yards or whatever, back to the house. But anyway, so that's just my 2 cents on that.
I panicked for a second there when you were saying Agatha Christie because I just started reading The Murder of Roger Ackroyd and I was like, oh
Oh,
gosh, don't let it be.
okay, that's not it. I
It
just
wasn't.
read that. I just read that book. That is, yeah, whatever I said is has nothing to do with that one.
Yeah, I was super excited.
That's a very, very good story. Yeah, she's an excellent writer. Um, okay, how about an easy one? What music do you use for writing?
Ooh, I like that. Um, I love to listen to, I'm very strange with my music. I'm all over the place. And I know a lot of people say that, but I am seriously all over the place. So I love to listen to blues and jazz. I also love to listen to classical music, but I'm talking like blues and jazz, like 1920s blues and jazz,
Oh,
like old
okay,
school.
nice. Wow.
But I also love to listen to, oh my gosh, why is her name escaping me? There's this incredible
Celine Dion,
art. No, it's this new artist. She plays the violin. I'm gonna look it up right now because I highly recommend everyone listens to
a
her.
new artist with a violin.
Yeah, and she does this kind of crossover between like classical and I don't know if it's like techno or house music or
I know
what
who
it
you're
is.
talking about.
Oh, it's Lindsay Sterling is
Lindsay
what her name.
Sterling. Yeah,
Lindsay Sterling.
and she
And
dances
it's
around. It's a big show.
oh my gosh, it's amazing. The first
Yeah,
time, like, I just for me writing like like a fantasy romance, it's
right.
like the vibes that
Okay.
I
Nice.
wanna listen to.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of it. Really just depends though for me, like what I'm writing. If I'm
Okay.
writing like a
Right.
like a really chaotic scene or something, then I want to feel like the adrenaline pumping. So I'm listening to something else maybe.
Right.
But it's really funny though, because now I've found that because I have my own playlist that I listen to when I'm writing, and I'll put it on when I'm driving sometimes. And it's horrible because then I'm like, oh, I want to get to where I'm going so that I can sit down and write because now I'm excited to write because my
Oh
brain thinks
yeah,
that
that
this is my
definitely
writing
happens.
music.
Right. No, that definitely happens. How about you?
How-
Have you found music that would define your characters? Like this is her
Yes.
song. This is his song.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never you know, people always are like, oh, this is like my character song. And I'm like, I've never really thought about it that much. And I was listening to some music the other day, and there was one song that came on, and I don't usually like to have words because it like confuses my brain when I'm writing.
Right.
But this song came on, and I was listening to the words of it, and I was like, man, this is exactly like my character Remington. Like, if he had to have a song, this is it. Like, this is the one.
Nice.
So that was super cool because now I'm like, when I'm trying to, reframe myself into his brain, I'm like, I can listen to this, and then it immediately puts me right back in there. But
Nice.
how about you?
Yeah, mostly classical. Two Steps from Hell, it's a good one, a good group. Just like you said, anything without words, it has to be just instrumentals. Movie soundtracks I've listened to a lot. Since I love the Mission Impossible movies, um, most of their soundtracks, like I can look at one of my covers and know exactly which Mission Impossible movie I was listening to while writing that. Because they would be over and over and over. I would just replay the whole album over and over while I was writing. Like you said, just get that vibe going of intensity, of suspense, danger lurking kind of thing. So that's pretty much it, though. And even with my characters that are where I pick music for my characters, they're all instrumentals. Yeah,
All right, my turn.
your
Is it my
turn.
turn? Yeah, my
Yep.
turn. This is a really good one. Where's the line between inspiration and plagiarism?
Inspiration and plagiarism. I mean, I swear to God, most of my ideas are my own. Like, I rarely read somebody else's work and then like, oh my gosh, I wanna, your book was basically based on Beauty and the Beast, right? Heartbound.
Yeah.
I didn't, I loved it. There wasn't anything in me that was, oh, I want to write my own version. Like, no, I don't. So I don't know if I have an issue with that. What I do find is, I'll come up with an idea. So here's what I do. Okay, I come up with just the idea. Honestly, it's usually a book title. Like I don't know where. Oh, because there's a book called Pretty Little Liars, right? Um, and I thought that's cool, but how can I make it mine? And maybe this is where this question comes in. I came up with Pretty Little Gravedigger, and then there'd be a
Ooh.
sequel, Pretty Little Grave Diggers.
I
And
like that.
so I go, well, let me go see if that exists. So I go on Amazon and look for that exact title, and there's nothing. So I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, is that plagiarism though? Because it's already pretty little. Um, and I remember reading something like it was a few years back, like maybe 10 years back or something like that. But like there's kind of a joke meme about if you want to sell books, all you have to put is girl in the book. Girl on train, gun girl, the girl with two heads. I don't know what you got, but if you just put girl in there, then it's gonna sell. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean that wouldn't be plagiarism, right? If I wrote a book called Pretty Little Gravedigger.
I don't think so. And I mean, it really comes down to the context. And I think it's a really good topic as well, especially because you think about, you have to write things that readers know,
Hmm.
right? Um, it's okay to invent a creature here and there or invent a new species, but like, people just write what readers know because that's what readers want to read is about things that they already know and understand. And we don't
Yeah.
need to reinvent the wheel here.
Right.
Um, I've seen cases where people are like, "Oh my gosh, this book is a knockoff from another book because,
Mm,
a lot of the plot kind of feels the same
yeah.
and, the character names are so similar but just, changed a little bit."
Right.
Um, and I think that what it comes down to is that like people aren't going to want to reread a book that they've already read. So,
Hmm.
you know, don't I think when it comes to like things like oh, I want to write a story about dragons in a military college, right? Well,
Hmm.
that's Fourth Wing. And so people now are like, well, Fourth Wing's so well known that like nobody can ever write another
Mm,
military slash dragon novel because it would be the same thing.
okay.
And I mean, yes, to some extent, but also if it's just taking place as part of like a military unit or like a war college and has dragons, but the plot is completely different, well, then that's a different story.
Yep.
And I think that's the difference is, what's happening throughout the story. Maybe it is a similar setting, but if it's a completely different story, then I think that's inspiration and not
Yeah.
plagiarism.
Yeah.
But if it's the same plot, then and the same ending,
Yeah.
just a different object or a different journey, then
Right.
that's kind of, for me, that would be like, what's the point, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What would be the point? I mean, like if we were to take The Martian by uh, Andy? No, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, I can't remember the author's name on The Martian. Um, but it's just about a guy being left out on Mars. They thought he was dead. Here we go with that first question. What do you do when they thought he was dead because his comms went out and there's a huge storm. They had to take off, and so they left. And then they discover later, oh my God, he's still alive. He's back on Mars by himself. Uh, oh, Andy Weir, that was it. And there's no way. I don't even know how. Like, oh, it's so successful. So let me write about a guy left alone on Mars. I mean, I guess you could, but like it definitely is going to sound the same. Now, if you introduce space dragons, oh, okay, well now it's totally different. But yeah, like there would be the point of just copying somebody's work. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way. Like a real writer, we want our own creations. Like in a way, they're like children. I know not everyone has children, but like I remember raising my kids and I led them. They're fantastic and they grew up to be great adults. And there's some other kids that I like, but like I don't want that. I don't want a clone of that one. Like I want my own kids. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
like we want our own creations. We want our own. I want to look at the bookshelf and go, no, I wrote all of that. That's all
Yeah.
mine right there, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So that is a good question, but I feel like yeah, our inspiration should be, and we can be as inspired by yeah, Men on Mars or whatever. I mean, I just heard the title. I have no idea what that book is about, Pretty Little Liars. I have no clue. I've never read it. But I do know it's a very popular book and it's well known. But I just thought, well, let's put a twist on something like that. Just make like some serial killer, high school girl. I thought that was fun. So also, okay, here's another one, kind of along the same lines. Murder is the title. Okay,
Hmm.
so and where did I get this from? I think I got inspiration, not plagiarism, inspiration from watching the second season of Wednesday. Um, there's some antagonist who's using crows, like literal murders of crows to attack people. And I thought, okay, so now I'm combining two. I want crows and I want Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, where it's just a nature thing. Nobody's in control. There's no magic involved. It's just crows going wild, murdering people in a small town. And I thought, this is going to be crazy. I love that though. Both of those were inspirational. Is there any plagiarism in any of that, Holly? What do you think?
I don't think so because again, you're kind of taking it and you're making it your own, right? You're not following along with a similar plot and just changing it. You're taking things and you're blending them and you're creating, making it your own,
Right.
right?
Okay. We hope. I don't know. We'll
We
find
hope.
out.
I mean, I guess it comes down to you to have to look at the writing. Like if I can look at that writing and,
Yeah.
and be like, oh, this is very clearly the same as this story.
Like the narrator, his
I
name
think
is
I've read this
Alfred.
before.
Yeah. His name's Alfred Medgecock.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is not the same. I swear to God. No.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it comes down to like what you said with Heartbound, right? It's based
mhm.
loosely on Beauty and the Beast because there's a
Yeah.
spell
Yeah.
in a glass case, but um, it's not like all the furniture is not running around with voices and
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
teacup's not talking to me.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
fun to throw little things in. Like I threw in one of the people was drinking out of a chipped cup and,
Yep. I
like
saw
fun
that.
things like that. But it's
Yep.
like, it's not, no
Right.
one's going to read it and be like, wow, this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I totally love that too. That's all you mentioned. And there's a chip in the car. I was like, oh my gosh, there's Chip, you know. I thought that was fun. Nothing in
yeah.
me was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get sued by Disney or
Yeah,
something.
right.
No, 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 no. That's not it. So,
Okay. So then this is a great follow-up too.
okay.
Um, when using made-up words, what is too much? So now we have a fine line between
Hmm.
um, plagiarism, inspiration, and
Yeah.
what, when you're making something your own, what is too much?
Too much with the words though? The naming
Yeah,
stuff or
so I think that's what when using made up words, what is too
hmm.
much? Um,
I think when it's too like I don't know what they're talking about.
so
And
to put it without reading the whole thing, their character has to relearn has to learn the language of whoever they're speaking to. And so
okay.
I'm thinking that they have their own language.
Okay.
And so they'll be like, instead of teacup, they're
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Right. Yeah.
some random, some made up word.
Right. Right.
This is
Yeah.
why I don't have different languages because I can't
Yeah.
make up shit like that on
Right.
the fly. But
Right.
so I think that's like the same thing, and we can expand it and say like same thing with species,
Uh-huh.
or objects
Or naming
or
characters.
naming.
That's usually where I see it, like where it's just ridiculous. How about I can't pronounce it? With the caveat being, um, Tolkien used a ton of his own languages, Dwarven language, Elvish language. Like it's very beautiful, and there's a lot that I can't. I can't. It's hard to pronounce, but I don't know. There's something different about that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I,
Where like that's world building and
mhm.
that's their characters or but it's hard when I'm reading like an to me it's the names, you know, an elf named Glaber Nashtawashwashwa, you know. And I'm like, how do I pronounce that? Okay, I'm just gonna cut it down to Glob. You know, that's his name now. So
Yeah.
that's it for me. It's a little petty, I guess, but that's me.
I totally agree, and that's the biggest way to get me to put down a book very quickly,
Oh,
which I don't love doing because I know there's a lot of books that I've been recommended, and that for me is the one thing that I can't stand because it's hard to. It's one thing if you have like one character with a unique name,
yeah.
but when I open to the first chapter, which is, where people automatically start world building, right? And so recently I picked up this novel and it was like all of the places, like the towns and stuff like that, had these really strange names.
Hmm.
All of the characters had strange names, and all the gods had strange names. And so it was like I was getting hit in the first chapter with 15 different
Mm,
names that were nowhere close to being normal.
mm,
And so I'm like, I have to read this 15 times to
yeah,
understand these 15 names so that I'm
yeah,
not lost for the rest of the book.
right,
Um, so I feel like for me anyways, and again, like maybe it's different with high fantasy, but I
right,
think that, one or two unique names,
mm,
and I'm talking like ones that you have to actually slow down to read, because
right,
again, it comes down to like when a reader becomes familiar with your character's name, they can, continue on and read it as at the end of a dialogue tag or
right.
anything like that. But if they're constantly stopping to try and figure out how to pronounce your character's names or objects or whatever, then it's just going to slow them down reading and it's going to pull them out of the story anyways.
That's what it is. It pulls me out of the story, and I'm sorry, I kind of do an eye roll, like, okay, am I gonna have to remember this? But it, like to your point, I think it would work if it was one or two because these are very special people. They're very, very important characters. So
Yeah.
that makes you go, oh, here he is again. Well, that's not bad, you know. But yeah, if it's a bunch, so I don't know. I mean, the answer to the question might be, yeah, is it kind of overwhelming the reader? Because we
Yeah.
don't we don't want to push the reader away with whatever it is, and there's so many different ways to push a reader away. That might be a topic later, but yeah, names, places, things, and if it's a lot to remember, like good Lord, like I said, like life's too short. Sorry, I'm gonna
Mhm.
pass for now. But
Yeah.
that's just me.
I think too, like you can always pare it down as well. Like if you're determined to have someone have a really cool, funky name, maybe they have that really cool, funky name, but right away another character calls them by their nickname. And so you can call them by their shortened, easy to pronounce nickname, which happens to be Sam, and then at some point in the story when someone uses their full name, it actually has meaning.
Hmm. Yeah.
So just I think it just kind of depends on how you're using it.
Hmm.
But I would say maybe a couple made up words or like a made up species.
Yeah.
Um, Unless you're going all out and you're building out a freaking wiki page for your for your
Yeah.
fanfic and all
Right.
that, right?
Right.
Because it's confusing.
Right. Hey, follow, I would say follow the writing advice of George Lucas, who kept everything crazy simple. Death Star, Star Destroyer, very, very simple. You kind of get it, like, oh, okay, that's what that like. Just stick with that. Like, don't be pretentious and like, oh my gosh, I put all these, I jumbled all these consonants together. Good luck. Don't do that.
Yeah. I think for me as well, like I try to when it comes to naming, I try to give my characters a name that kind of reflects who they are,
Hmm.
or something about them that's important and it kind of
Okay.
reflects that. But I think that it's also important to make sure that, oh, now I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, it's catching. I thought it was just
Thanks.
me.
Thanks a lot.
I'm just sitting
Uh,
here. It's easy though, right? Like I don't
appreciate
know how
it.
it happened. I started talking,
It
all of a sudden
is,
I'm like,
yes.
where am I?
Uh,
You're naming
Apparently
characters.
yes. Um, so I think that I've lost it now.
Okay.
So it's gone. It's gone, guys. I'm so sorry.
No. I'm sorry, Holly. It's
Yeah,
all, yeah, I know. No, I know
it is.
exactly what that feels like. Okay. All right. Well, we'll rewind this and then get back to you on that. All right, but when it comes back, jump in there. Okay. How about writing a book is insanely difficult? What tips would you recommend to get a project off the ground without procrastinating?
I would say when you first start writing, set yourself a time that you know is going to be pretty consistent for you, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour, just something to start you. Set yourself time aside and do it every day. Um, because once you start to build that habit, it's going to become a lot easier. Even if you only write a little bit, I think that you'll be more successful if you're actually sitting down and being like, no, I know from 9 to 10 every day, I have to sit down in front of my
Yeah,
computer or sit down with my notepad and write. That's the
right.
easiest way to get started on anything is you just have to force yourself to do it.
You do. It's yeah, sit, get your butt in the chair and start writing. Yeah, that's.
Mhm.
I would maybe say going back to writing goals, maybe just have a very small writing goal of 100 words. Just start
Mm.
there, or even 50 if it's really difficult for you to write. Um, uh, so there's that procrastinating. Now, procrastinating might be a little different from like writer's block or something, where you're having trouble finding your way through the story, which hits us. For me, that means there's something wrong with what I'm writing, and my subconscious doesn't like it. Like I know where I'm going and I'm writing stuff, but something deeper is going, this is something is boring or something is, So I'll have to reread the chapter or the past couple of chapters, even though we told you not to do that. But just to go back and so sometimes that's what it is for me because I have been procrastinating writing my story, Death by Invitation Only. This is like easily over a year now, probably a year and a half. And there's definitely times I have been procrastinating. It was because, like I said, there's something wrong with where the story was going that I did not like. So I had to set it aside for a very long time, and I just got back into it, and I knew where I wanted to go with it. So that could be a thing too. Uh, just try to maybe. So my answer would be try to figure out what is it that you either don't like about right. If it's just writing, then follow Holly's advice. You have to sit down and start doing it. But there may be something wrong with what you're writing, or maybe you just don't like it. Okay, I don't read romantasy. Could I write it? Sure, but I'm probably not going to. So if everyone's like, hey, you need to write a romantasy, all right, I'll start. But like that would make me want to procrastinate because that's just not
Right.
me. Um, and yeah, truthfully, even this murder mystery, I thought I would like it. And I thought I could get into this. I'm finding I kind of don't. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just not me. And unfortunately, I'm already neck deep in this story, so I got to finish this thing. But now I know, like, Bob's not going to be writing cozy mystery anytime soon. you know. So, what do you have? Have any more questions? Yeah, more questions.
I do have more questions.
Good.
Okay. What are your thoughts on using italics for emphasis in dialogue?
Yeah, I would use it very, very sparingly.
Mhm.
I'm
I
talking
agree.
like, for me, I would one or two times in the entire book. That's just me. If you use it way too often, then none of that's special. Um, so that's me as a reader, and that's me because it would get annoying if like every other chapter or every chapter has that. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what are they? Unless there's some sort of clue I'm missing, and like they're trying to go, hey, dude, like pay attention to this, the way they talk, or unless it has a meaning to it. But if it's just because that's your style or it looks fun, no, don't do
Yeah.
that.
I think a lot of the time too, it's like what what are you hoping to accomplish by like
hmm
what are you emphasizing, right? Like,
Yeah,
is it necessary? Like,
yeah,
opening they opened the champagne bottle with a pop
right,
and you emphasize pop. Like, you do need to emphasize that because, most people know what it sounds like when a champagne bottle is
yeah,
popped. It's
hmm
implied in the word popped that it
right,
pops.
yeah,
So, I think use it sparingly.
yeah, yeah, not all the time. Um, I have my last one. What is the best writing advice you have ever received?
Don't hope to get rich.
Yes, that's a very true statement. Yeah. Don't
No,
hope to get rich.
um, no, I think it is to write something that you would like to read.
Yeah,
And I know like that between that and this kind of goes hand in hand with like don't write to what's popular, right? Because that's the first thing that a lot of people do is like, oh, well, I want to go and write XYZ because that's popular right now, and I
yeah,
want to write that. Um, but one of two things will happen by the time you write five drafts of this novel and it gets edited and ready to be queried, and then it goes through a year of agents and selling, and that genre, or that style of book might not be popular anymore.
yeah,
And then two, you might not love that. And so
Hmm.
that's going to be reflected in your writing. So I
There you go.
say, write what you love. It doesn't have to be what you know because you can research things, right?
Yeah.
And you can like learn something new, and that's going to give you a whole fresh perspective, right? If someone
Right.
experiencing something for the first time. But write something that you are passionate about, and that will show in your writing for sure.
Yeah, and it's fun for you because like we talk about, you're gonna have to read this story like
So
I
many
don't
times.
know, man. Like, yeah, 30, 50 times, maybe more. Like, so I hopefully you love it. Mine was something similar. It was write the book for you, for yourself. Write the book for yourself. And I love that because that removes a lot of fear of what the audience would think or what they expect or like who cares? I'm writing this for me
Yeah.
and then I'm going to share it. If you don't like it, that's okay because I love my book. So that's who I'm writing for. I'm writing for me. I need, and I constantly have to remind myself that while I'm writing, like I'm thinking, well, should they go left or right? You know, and I'll kind of weigh my options and go, well, wait a second, what do I want? Like, what would I want to read? Oh, I want left. Like, boom, let's go there. You know. So yeah, all my books, all my stories are always going to have that the overarching theme of I'm writing for myself. I'm writing this book for myself. So those are
Yep.
those are both very good advice.
Yeah.
What do
All
you
right,
have?
I have one more
Okay.
question. This one's actually a me question, so I'm curious. And
Oh,
so hopefully our listeners will pop over to our Discord or in the comments,
yeah.
and will give me their thoughts as well.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on flashbacks in writing?
Hmm.
So this is something that I have been playing with because when I originally wrote The Blood Sky, the first 10 chapters took place 5 years ago, and then there's a 5 year time gap, and then we're in the present time. And so I decided that I was really using those first 10 chapters as a crutch to explain the relationships between the characters. But by doing so, it was starting me 10 chapters before the action, which we didn't want to do. So in my rewrite, I was toying with the idea of doing some flashbacks.
Hmm.
And now I'm kind of toying with the idea of not doing it because I feel like no matter where I try to fit it in, it just doesn't necessarily, it's almost like it's explaining why the character should feel a certain way. So I'm
Hmm.
curious, everyone's experience with writing flashbacks and if they do or do not think that there's a place for it in writing.
There is a place for it. I have flashbacks in one of my books only because it had to do with one of the characters, Fang, the assassin vampire, and I wanted to talk about how she is the way she is. So the vehicle I used was an investigative reporter or journalist, not a reporter, journalist, who started and she was trying to dig for stuff, and she's like an evil character. She wanted to find out things that she could use. And so that's what I used. Oh, when did you start, not killing people, but when did you start your business of what you do kind of thing? And so for me, that was a perfect. So that ended the chapter and then started the next chapter, Fang was 12 years old and blah, blah, blah. And that's how I would do my flashbacks. Probably like half a chapter. It wasn't very long. Um, so I feel like there can be a place for flashbacks. And I thought I did it well enough that wasn't too exposition-y, so to speak, even though it is nothing but exposition. But it was fun too, because it was like a story within a story.
Mhm.
I think it took up probably 5 or 6 chapters, I want to say, within that book. So it wasn't too much. Now, going back, because I am doing that again with my current work in progress, Death by Invitation Only. And I think what I did start doing was instead of going, okay, here's a flashback and try to think about what I'm going to write, what I'm going to do is write the whole flashback segment, if you will, from beginning to end. And then I'll take it apart
Mhm.
and put it here and there where it's needed, instead of because for me it's just being a discovery writer. It's hard to just figure out what. like what I'm writing or where it's going. So it'd be a lot easier to go, okay, this is where they're going to talk about this. So I just go pull up that chapter and copy paste it into boom, there it is, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So I'd say include it. I'd say go for it. Just, you know, you gotta see what works. But yeah, I mean that also you have a good point where like it doesn't really fit here, but you can if you really want it, you can. You know,
Hmm.
you're allowed to change things around and make it fit. So
Yeah.
that's totally up to you. But I like flashbacks. Um, all right. Well, I think that's enough Reddit for today, which is a very common comment on if I am on
Yeah.
Reddit, I am probably 18 hours a day on Reddit. And I see that often with some of the stuff. Well, that's enough Reddit for today. Thanks. You know. But yeah, hopefully that helped answer because those are all really good questions and
Hmm.
hopefully that encourage you guys us talking about this because it's pretty common. You know, there's new writers every day and they'll get on there and like Holly said, go jump on Reddit. You don't have to be like a member, you know, like have an account. You can go look at stuff all you want anonymously, and but they're called subreddits. Writing, writers. Um, if you just type up writing on Reddit, they'll bring up a bunch of different subreddits for you. Okay, so that's it. We don't have a closing segment. We didn't talk about this. Do we
I
need
feel like our
one?
whole episode was closing segments.
Thank you. Okay, we're good. We're done with the closing segment because we just talked about it. So, all right. Any closing thoughts or words, Holly? Did whatever
Um,
your train of thought, did I ever come back?
Never did.
Never
Never
did.
did.
Gone. Okay. Should remember it later.
Also a common comment that I make
Oh yeah.
is gone.
Gone.
Um, no, I think my final thoughts are definitely I highly recommend Reddit. Take everything that people say with a grain of salt though, because
Yes, that's true.
everyone likes to believe that they're an expert, and not everybody is. And I say
Yeah,
that because everyone is an expert in the way that they write, and that doesn't necessarily mean that way is suitable for you to write. So
that's right.
take it with a grain of salt, but if you have 15 different people telling you the same thing, then
Yeah,
probably a good indicator that something needs to be looked at.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And we didn't do this, but there are a lot of people that will, hey, how about this portion? Don't put in a whole chapter. No one's going to read that. Sorry to say. But like, if just, hey, what do you think about this interaction here? Just like a small portion, get some feedback. That's
Hmm.
probably a good idea too. But
Yeah.
don't put your entire book on there because no one's going to read the entire thing. So,
Yeah. And also, if you're commenting, which I highly recommend because, it's important for engagement and things like that. And it also helps build you out as an author, and build out your own connections and platform. But if you're commenting, make sure that you're giving constructive feedback, right? Not
yeah.
just this sucks,
Yes.
or I don't like this, or no, this doesn't work,
Right.
or no, this is too long, but say, no, this is too long, but you could try XYZ.
Yeah.
Or, something that I would recommend would be maybe writing this way instead of this way, or,
Yeah.
put something helpful in the comments. Because again, that is usually what people are looking for is that feedback so that they can make themselves better writers. And we can't do that unless we know why you have problems with our work.
There you go.
So,
Yeah. And we're all growing and learning. Okay. Yeah, Holly and
mhm.
I and Austin are absolute 100% experts in writing. However, we're still learning. No, we're not experts. I'm being sarcastic, but both of us are still learning. I mean, Holly just had
Yeah.
a great question about, so we're all on the same track. You know, we're just maybe a little bit ahead, but that's all. We're still learning. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, don't forget to subscribe to our channels at the links below, especially our Discord, so you don't miss any of the Writers Realm content. We always love to hear from our listeners. So if you have a question or topic you want us to dive into, please get in touch. Until then, keep writing.
Bye.
Bye.